Excellent. Good morning and good afternoon or good evening, depending on where you guys are dialing in from. I'm super excited today on October 29th to kick off our season 2, episode 13. Wow. And I see all our panelists, startups, and industry fellows coming together. How are you guys doing? V, so good to see you. How are you?
Well, thank you. Hi, Tommaso.
Where are you dialing in from, actually, V?
Dialing in at 11:30 p.m. from Singapore in Asia.
Wow, thank you so much for your commitment. We appreciate that.
Pleasure.
Reda, so good to see you. How about you? Where are you dialing in from?
Hi, I'm dialing in from Mumbai, India, and it's 9 p.m. right now.
9 p.m. also, thank you so much for your commitment. Wow, that's an amazing global round already here. Brett, I know also you are around the world, right? So good to see you.
Yeah, good to be here, Tommaso. Thanks for having me and dialing in from Cape Town, South Africa at 5:30 p.m. And I thought that was late for me, so I'm not complaining. Other people are nearing midnight.
Thank you so much. And last but not least, Ahmed, how about you? Where are you dialing in from?
Hi, Tommaso. It's great to be here. I'm dialing in from Dubai in the Middle East.
Wow, what a diverse group. That's amazing around the globe, right? This makes me even more happy that you guys allow us at this time to pick your brain and talk about this so important topic of alternative protein. We have here 2 startup entrepreneurs that I'll introduce in a second, and we have 2 industry fellows that I equally introduce in a second. But let me briefly here talk real quick about our current episode series, and let me start 3 2 1 sharing the screen called Topfloor. Well, what is a Topfloor? Very simple. We do select during the year and handpick startups that present their sector specific innovation to a jury of industry fellow. Well, what does it mean and what's sector specific? Next gen protein is what we have been focusing on since the end of last year. And we are super excited to announce that today we are in our episode 13 of our 2nd season. We have also in parallel, for those who are following us around the globe, a second format, which is virtual coffee. There we are also in our 13th episode. So we are running both together towards our 30th episode. That's great because that's exactly what we want to achieve: togetherness and collaboration in order to evangelize this so important topic. And enough about the logistical things. What are we going to do here? We have 2 amazing entrepreneurs that joined us from around the globe, Sreda and Vlad. Let me allow to introduce real quick Sreda. And now I have here my notes. Sreda Benzali, a sustainable entrepreneur, founder of Candy and Green Candy Club, Forbes 30 under 30 in 2018, and co-founder of Evo Foods, an innovative startup in next gen proteins. Very curious, Reda, to hear more about that. Thank you so much again for joining. And we have Brett Thompson, co-founder of, hold on, that's what I learned, Zanzi, right, Brad?
Yep, that sounds about right, John. Go for it.
Sounds about right. So Zanzi, co-founder also at Credence Institute. What does Zanzi Meat and Co. produces cultivate meat, next-gen proteins from cells. They are pioneering biology, engineering, and ethical values were major drivers for us to shortlist them to participate in our series. That's the reason why we have you here today on board. What a pleasure to have you here, Brett.
Yeah, what a pleasure to be here.
And on the other side of the table, like we like to say here in the Bay Area, we have V. Nguyen and Ahmed Khan. V. Nguyen, ESG, Sustainability and Investment Specialist, Research Director at Asia Research and Engagement. What a pleasure, V. Thank you for your time. I appreciate.
Thanks for having me.
And Ahmed Khan, a biologist passionate about food and the future, and founder of Cell Agri, a research and insight platform focused on cellular agriculture. Ahmed, thank you so much for joining me. And I will chip in and contribute also here during the conversation and the presentation. Well, the presentation are roughly, you guys have 8 to 10 minutes to present the shredder and Brett, enough time for us to understand what's your value proposition, what's the problem you are solving, how you came about it, and maybe what's unique about your solution, for then turn around and have a couple of questions on our end. Well, before we kick off things, we would like to thank our partner that's brought us this show, Awesome Ventures, the CVC, the Corporate VC as a Service, and Silicon Valley, the Silicon Valley Institute, which is a transformative innovation institute. Now, if the audience on the social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, you name it, Instagram, right? Or obviously here on our Zoom, if you guys have any questions, we'd like to filter always 1 or 2 questions per entrepreneur. Feel free to submit them wherever you want, and we'll be making sure to pick one. And without further ado, I would like to, I was about to say invite on stage, but you know, for now, it's not inviting on stage, okay, right? I invite to share the screen, Sreda, right? And kick off with you. So the screen is yours. Please take it from here. Sreda and her startup.
Okay. Sorry, give me a second here. Okay, can everyone see my screen? Okay, wonderful. Thank you for this opportunity for me to introduce Evo Foods. You did a great job introducing my background, but I would like to get into a little bit more about me and why I actually started Evo Foods. So my background is actually in entrepreneurship and hospitality. I have a very, very, very close relationship with food. And growing up, I've grown up a vegetarian, and I'm a part of this community in India called Jains. And, you know, we believe in nonviolence. So growing up, you know, I had a lot of these teachings. And the reason I got so fascinated by food was because I felt like it was such, you know, it was such a such a beautiful, holy experience. But then, you know, just the thought of like eating animals, it just didn't sit right with me, which is why I launched my first restaurant, which was a plant-based vegetarian and vegan cafe in Mumbai. And then from that, what I realized is I wanted to increase my impact, be able to sort of not only change the food on 1, 10, 100 plates, you know, do it worldwide. And that's actually one of the reasons my co-founder Karthik and I came up with Evo. We're both impact-focused entrepreneurs, and Evo is born from our need to basically help the planet, to give the planet a better protein source that is sustainable, ethical, and affordable. So the reason we picked egg was we found some really shocking statistics about egg and how it's bad for you. And these are certain things that you don't see, right? Everyone knows why egg is good for you. But did you know that 1 egg has the same amount of cholesterol as 3 Big Macs? Which is crazy, right? Which is a really high percentage. So the problem with the current egg was there was a lot of cholesterol. There's a lot of antibiotics that are pumped into especially the Indian poultry industry is very notorious for its use of antibiotics to scale up production. And then, of course, other than that, there was the emissions that, you know, the poultry industry was creating. And all of these were big problems that we wanted to solve. And that's why we came up with Evo, which is our plant-based liquid egg. You can use it to make omelets and scramble. It has the same protein content as an egg. It has all the branched chain amino acids, a lot of the micronutrients. It's lower in calories and in fat than a regular egg. And we've also enhanced it with vitamin D3 and B12, which a lot of Indians are deficient in. So we didn't only seek out to make an egg, we wanted to make a better egg. So how do we do this? Karthik and I, my co-founder Karthik and I, we both have an Indian heritage. And one thing that we're very proud of is a crop biodiversity in India. India has one of the biggest varieties of legumes and beans available in the world, which, as you know, worldwide are used to make plant-based protein sources. So we basically use this indigenous plants which are very readily available in India, and we combine it with cutting-edge technology to make Evo eggs. Our current market is really big, and it's growing, as you can see on all the eggs on our screen. To just get into it very, very briefly, in India, the market for eggs is 1.3 billion by 2023. The US has seen a 192% increase in the growth of eggs year on year. And overall, our beachhead market, just to start off with, in India for our plant-based proteins, our egg plant-based proteins, just with our tier 1 country, tier 1 cities, is 40 million. So it is a really big market, and it's something that will really work in India. And one of the main reasons that we're really excited about launching an egg in India as opposed to other alternative animal proteins is because egg is kind of a gray area in India. As you know, in India, religious sentiment is very strong. So something like beef is banned, and other things like pork are religious topics. That's when something like egg comes along, which is sort of a gray area, which is considered both vegetarian and non-vegetarian. And in a market which has the largest vegetarian population in the world, which is, again, very protein deficient, egg is something that's sort of a very easy gateway product to introduce the Indian customer to an alternative plant-based protein. How do we make our product? Well, we use 3 indigenous Indian crops. We use the mung bean, we use chickpeas, and we use pea protein to create our plant-based Evo liquid. Our product is high in protein, low in fat, 0 in cholesterol, and the best part is it has really strong margins. We can make it for 1/3 of the price because of our production capabilities in India, and having all our having the entire supply channel mapped out in India. We're able to produce this product at 1/3 of the price as global competitors. Our progress so far is we just graduated from the Big Idea Ventures Accelerator this month, which has been amazing. We've been able to raise funds from Ryan Bethencourt, Veg Invest, Dr. Sandhya Sriram, and many others. We've been fortunate to be featured in a lot of great articles, and we're currently a part of the Food Bites by Rabobank. Our team currently consists of Karthik Dixit, who is my co-founder and also the CEO of our company. There's me, and then there's our research scientist, Deep Dave. And we also have a great board of advisors with us, with Stephanie Downs and Ryan Bethencourt. This is, all about our company, Evo. We hope you'll help us revolutionize plant proteins in India. We are currently hiring, and we are also raising our pre-seed round. So if you are interested in any of those, you can definitely get in touch with me or Karthik.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Shraddha. Great presentation, very clear, very appealing. And for me here for breakfast time, I'm really curious to have actually, a bite of what I saw on your plate. So congratulations, and also great in your time. Well, I would like now to pass the ball to maybe starting out with V. What are your thoughts? What are your questions here on Evo?
I'm really actually very impressed that you could make it at 1/3 of the price of your global competitors. And I wanted to clarify, is that because you're doing the protein isolation process is within India as well as the manufacture of the end product, so then therefore there's no logistical, shipping costs involved there, or is it something else that's involved here?
That's one of the things. So one is all the raw products come directly from the farmers who were well connected through a lot of our other channels and some of our investors who have that back end. So that makes us very price competitive. And most of our products are actually sourced from India. So I think around 95% of all the ingredients are actually Indian sourced. So that greatly brings our costs down.
Yeah, that's quite impressive. And so a follow-on question on that is that, I know that India has had some quota restrictions on the pulses or imports of pulses in the hope that you will raise local prices up. So how are you finding that? How are you factoring that potential cost? I mean, I know the quota is going to, I think, March 2021. There's been a lot of backlash from the other countries who are producing pulses and legumes. You know, have you factored in the risk of this continuing forwards, and how have you factored in the additional cost, if there has been any, and what has been the additional cost to you?
So, okay. So honestly, right now we're at pilot scale and we are, figuring out, our at scaling what our margins will be. But having said that, our entire story, our entire company is actually based on being an Indian product. So we were never looking to buy from African or any other foreign like imported beans. We wanted this to be a product that was built in India by Indians, and which is why we were using all the farmers right now that we've contracted with our all Indian farmers, and our contracted rates are, they're pretty great, like at a global standard. But of course, right now we're doing our pilot trials. We haven't reached scale yet, so that would be a bit difficult to comment on in the future how that would affect us. But currently, we feel like we're in a very good space, and we don't feel the pinch from this.
Okay, and are you going to be selling into just the Indian market? But I believe you also want to go global and into the US, right?
So currently, since India is, it's the backyard, it's the best place to launch the product and make sure that, we perfect it before we start exporting it to other countries. And actually, one of the reasons that we're initially focusing on India is this product needs cold chain. So we want to make, and we're working actually our R&D team for the second version of the product. It will be ambient stable. And ambient stable in India is like 40 degrees Celsius. So once we're able to do that, that will really allow us to be able to then look at at global shipping and all of that. So currently, the reason that we're focusing on India is to get the product 100% there. And then the second step before we can launch globally, which will be by the end of 2021, when we look at the US market, will be once we are able to get it ambient stable.
Right. And what is the, it's a third of the price of your competitors, but what is the cost going to be compared to an egg?
Okay, so that's a
which
great
is like
question.
the benchmark, right?
Yes. So for launching at our pilot scale currently, the facility that we've gotten and the sort of costs that we have considered, we are able to match the price of organic eggs in India right now.
And what is that premium to a regular battery caged egg? Because that is still factory farming and that is still how the bulk of our eggs are produced.
So in India, a regular egg could be anywhere between 10 to 15 rupees. And organic egg would be between 25 to 35 rupees.
That's not too bad, actually, because I mean, I know that just going from my own work, battery to cage free is about a 25 to 30% premium in a very developed market such as North America. So if you are not too beyond that, to have this as an alternative is it's quite impressive. And if you can get it to scale, I think that would really, really come down.
And definitely, in terms of other foreign markets, we can definitely match, at a larger scale. Our goal is to be an affordable protein source. So it would be to sort of match around the price range of an actual egg in those countries.
Yeah, really excited about the product, especially because of the potential growth within a market such as India. As you know, I mean, it's eggs are like the first cheapest protein source, and it has such potential. I mean, it's been growing quite exponentially in the Indian market, and I'd be really interested to see how you extend that to the rest of Asia and kind of leverage off your presence so close to the rest of Asia. And I wanted to know, actually, the last question I have is like, so what is your edge against a big competitor such as Just, which is quite well known now, right? And they're expanding globally quite aggressively.
Of course, and a huge fan of what Just does. I think that they what they do very well. Like they paved the way for their company, and this whole alternative plant-based egg idea. But again, one of the main reason, one of the things that sets us apart, especially in India, is one understanding of not like of how India eats, which I feel like is very different than how like a lot of other countries eat, because there's a lot of religious factors involved. And other than that, price point, right? Because Indians are very price sensitive. It's a it's a growing economy. The middle class is growing, but again, they're the most price sensitive consumer. So to be able to pay what just even after we reduce their price, to be able to pay that amount, that's not possible for them. And also, other than so we're not only competing in terms of price, right? Our other what we're also doing is we do a lot of fortification with our product, with our eggs. So we're not trying to be an egg alternative. We're trying to be a better egg. So I guess that's our positioning against Just Egg. We're not an egg alternative. We just want to make a better egg.
The more we dig, the more interesting it's getting. I'm curious to hear Ahmed's thoughts. Thank you so much, Fi. Thank you so much, Sreda, so far. Ahmed, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, that was a great overview of Evo Foods. That was fascinating. You mentioned this idea that I want to go back to, how India has a rich and vast range of indigenous plants that many other companies and researchers haven't yet even had the chance to explore yet. Have you considered the idea of digging deeper into this wide range of crops and vegetables there that could perhaps even enhance the properties even further, and make perhaps a database that could be leveraged by other companies even down the line?
Oh my God, totally. So, we don't say this yet, but on the back end, we actually have a database. So Deep, who's our research scientist, actually heads that as well. So we have a database of all indigenous, like different types of chickpeas and peas and all of these things, and, on their different functions. So we look at like their gelation. And so basically, yeah, we already had that database. And in the future, like we use it so that we can, improve our R&D timelines, and then also at some point maybe we could also help other companies with it.
That's really fascinating. And another idea I wanted to jump onto, you mentioned the idea of you're right that it can be a gray zone when it comes to what is vegetarian, what works for religious sentiment as well. This idea of your messaging right now, becoming a better egg. How are you communicating to the overall public that this is, while it is as nutritious, if not better than the normal egg, how are you communicating to those who wouldn't have a normal egg that this is a plant-based substitute at the same time? How are you communicating that message?
So a couple of things here, like so I'll answer this question first from like an India standpoint and then a global standpoint, because I think those are very different. So in India, when I say this is a better egg, there are a lot in India. We're not targeting your vegetarian population. We're targeting people that eat egg, right? That eat organic. Our first target will be people that eat organic eggs, are looking for a better egg, and have already eaten some form of an egg before and are looking for a better alternative to that. And the way we would be able to, we're like, our messaging to them would be like, we're better because we have the same amount of protein, we have zero cholesterol, there's no animal cruelty, and even in terms of our environmental impact, we're better, and we're at the same price as a regular organic egg. So in that way, our value proposition would be propped up against your organic egg initially, and that's how we're going to put the better egg value proposition for the Indian market, because unfortunately, in a country that's still developing as much, things like environmental impact, as important as they are, they don't drive purchase decisions yet. So we have to be very cognizant about what it is that the Indian customer really cares for. And from all our market studies, like that's the area that they're most interested in, about the benefits that they're getting from it. So that's what we're going to focus on. And from a global standpoint, when we say that this egg is better for you, it comes not only in the form of, oh, this is a better egg, not just for me, but also for my impact on the world. And that side is what we're going to focus on more when we look at, more Western countries. So like when we're planning to launch in the US, that's going to be a messaging there. But like I said, that's something that we have to be very careful about, and which is why we say that if you want to enter India, you need to understand understand the sentiment of Indians, which is very different, I guess, from a lot of other countries.
Hey, thanks for answering my questions.
Awesome, really, really intriguing, Shraddha. Thank you so much, Ahmed. And the more we listen, the more questions we actually, I think, have. A couple from my side. Why US as a next step before China? What are your thoughts there?
You know, honestly, right now, the reason that we're looking at the US market is it already has a customer base that's looking for plant-based eggs. So there's a proven market over there already. And then apart from that, actually, a lot of our investors and a lot of our just contacts are based over there. So it's much easier for us to build out a network that's more sustainable in the US currently, just because of the connections that our company has. So those two would be the biggest points. And also, I feel that the US market, to be able to take it, so it just has a bigger market size, we believe, than China right now, not in terms of population, just in terms of like proven sales.
Okay. And in terms of your go-to-market in India, do you mind expanding a bit about what your tactics are there? I heard a couple of interesting line of reasonings in terms of positioning, which I found very interesting, and I learned right now the difference between India positioning and versus others, right? And the go-to-market itself, what are your thoughts there?
Of course. So I go to so my background is actually, like I said, in the hospitality industry. And we have something called the National Restaurant Association of India, which I'm on the board for the youth committee. So basically, what we've done is it's kind of like the Beyond Meat strategy, where we've gone to a lot of the best restaurants and chefs in the country, and we have done contracts with them where they're going to launch it to the public through their restaurants. So that's like the first go-to-market strategy, where we're going to be in a lot of like chain restaurants and hotels, which we've already we have those LOIs signed, and that's good to go as soon as we launch. And then the second approach is direct to consumer through our own website on B2B through Amazon Fresh.
Okay.
Through something called Swiggy, which is India's Uber Eats, where they also deliver like fresh food, like things to cook.
Very interesting. So let me then ask you directly, retail, is this not on your books right now, on your strategy right now? And no, and if so, why not? I'm curious to hear that, because this is, here we are picking brains and sharing it with the world and others learning from that. So why not, right? It's very interesting.
So one of the main reasons is India doesn't have a great cold chain supply chain. It's not as developed as maybe the US. We've actually been talking to a lot of other other players, like in the dairy industry that work with cold chain, and they actually absorb a lot of loss because, and they can afford it because they're so highly funded. But when we did the mathematics, it just didn't work out for us to put a cold chain product in retail. So that's why initially we want to go the B2B route and direct to consumer, so we can control the supply chain as much as possible. And then by the end of 2021, when we're able to get it ambient stable, which is really important for retail in India, that's when we want to go into retail. So that's when we only want to focus on something that we know will be a huge a cash bleed for us.
And in terms of forecast, if you compare the two channels, the B2B route versus the online, you guys are in sales already, or sales mode already, right? You're selling.
No, we haven't launched the product yet. The product, so we have a lot of agreements with restaurants to launch with them as soon as the product is out, because it's such a new product. They're very excited to, be some of the people to get the first rights to use the product. But so we have a lot of LOIs for future sales, but no, we don't have any sales yet. We're launching by the end of this year.
This is always a good sign when you hear a presentation, right? And then at the end you say, "Oh, you guys don't have the product yet on the market." So you present it in a very appealing way. Congratulations there. So you have letter of intent of the table for your B2B strategy, and then you plan an online strategy, basically direct to consumer. Have you validated anything there, or is this just based on assumptions that this might work? What are your thoughts there?
So honestly, one of the best ways that we did market testing surveys is we did a couple of runs with restaurants where we put this on the menu to understand how customers would buy them. And we saw some really great traction. And what we found very interesting was that we were getting calls from like, so we have like our website up where people can like sign up, and we've gotten a lot of sign-ups. So in that way, we know that there's a lot of demand for the product and people are very excited about it. But I mean, of course, until we launch, right, there's no real concrete way of saying that, yes, this, product has a demand for it. We believe it does from all the research we've done and all the market testing we've done.
Perfect, perfect. Now, before we switch over to Brett, one last question, because you mentioned that, and I think this is very relevant in the stage of a startup that is about to launch. You are fundraising and expanding your team. Do you mind doubling down just real quick on the fundraising side for the audience here that is watching? You said an A round or a seed round, what was it?
So we're just raising our pre-seed currently.
Okay.
We're raising $1 million more, out of which we have 500K already committed. We're looking to close it by mid-November. And we're gonna raise on oh my God, why am I forgetting? On convertible notes. And for any more information, you can just email me and I will definitely get back in touch with you. And the minimum check size we're looking at is $50,000.
Awesome. So you heard it, guys out there. Very interesting value proposition. Evo from India raising dollars right now. Definitely an opportunity. Before we switch to Brett, I want to actually doubling down on opportunity from an operational perspective. Oh, this, by the way, is my family here. Let's switch to the, from an operational perspective, and actually provoke a bit here the minds of executives within global corporations, in CPGs and brands, because everybody says innovation, we need innovation, we want to drive innovation, and they do all kind of activities, but what is really the impact of the innovation that they are driving? And what if you as a corporation, you don't have an own fund to invest in startups like Evo? Right? And if you don't have the fund, you don't have the method behind it, you don't have the access, you don't have the people, and then maybe there's opportunity like the one like Brett's or Evo's and so many others, they vanish, become unicorns, right? And you lost an opportunity, not just a financial opportunity, but an opportunity to position or reposition you as a company. Well, that's exactly the circumstance and the challenges that a CVC solves, right? So if you don't want to create your own fund, you cannot create your own fund, you cannot, or you don't want to build your own investment teams to tap into those startup ecosystem, you might want to think about a different model at CVC as a service such as the one that Awesome Ventures done, which focuses really on traditional traditional businesses such as in the agriculture and the CPG space. If you want to hear more, send an email to cvc@awesome.io. Awesome is AWESM.io. But enough about sharing opportunities. Actually, let's move into the next most potential opportunity here with Brett Thompson, co-founder at Mzansi. Really curious to hear more. You have 8 to 10 minutes, Brett, this screen is yours.
It's firstly, I apologize for wearing the same shirt as my bio picture that you just showed. It's really embarrassing, but and it's also great to hear Shraddha talk before us, for me, rather than just sort of like hear the direction. And we're going to be going hopefully in the next couple of months and seeing the future, and it's hopefully we can sort of get close to what you've achieved in such a short space of time, because we are, as you'll see very soon, like a very young organizer or company rather. So can I get the thumbs up? Everybody can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Cool. Let me just get present mode over here. Is that coming up? All good?
Right. Thank you.
Yeah. So and it also sorry that it is a difficult name to pronounce. It's a lot easier down here where I sit to say in South Africa. Mzansi or Mzansi, which Mzansi Meat Co., which is the company that I've co-founded with Jay van der Walt, also based out in South Africa. Mzansi just means, it's a colloquial term, it's colloquial for South Africa. It's a name that we've got 11 official languages in South Africa: English, Afrikaans, Sotho, Tswana, Xhosa, Zulu. You can keep going. It's a name that kind of anybody would be able to know and understand and recognize. So that's one of the part of the reasons why we sort of chose it, because we're quite a diverse country and we want a name that speaks to that diversity. I also wanted to just sort of highlight our tagline as making meat in Africa. We really we are, as Shraddha was in India, we are in Africa. We're in South Africa. We're making it here. We want to be using ingredients and whatnot in Africa and South Africa. And our focus is going to be the South African and in African markets. And making, I think, is just something that I want us to be, to people to know that it's making food. We're making food. It's not a science experiment. This is food that we want people to eat. And just quickly about myself, my background is I wasn't born vegetarian or whatnot, or for any other reasons, but some 10, 15 years ago, I decided to stop eating meat and got really interested in, the reasons behind it. Was involved in animal advocacy for a long time, but what I did for my day job for the past roughly 10 years is work in one of South Africa's largest plant-based meat companies. That was sort of my day job. It's Fry Family Food Co. And selling plant-based meats into South Africa and the rest of the world. And it's just been something that I've been super passionate about finding and trying to get those alternative proteins. And now it's quite nice to not be in an alternative protein. I like to think it's a protein space. We're making meat, and we want people to know that that's what it is. I mean, what I want to highlight on this slide, I won't be going into too much details, but you guys can kind of see from the slide component. But what we really want to be focusing is our purpose. First, we want to be the first to market in South Africa and Africa. We are pioneering this in this space. There is no one else doing it on the African continent, cultivating meat to our knowledge. And we've been pretty vocal about being involved in this, and no one sort of put up their hand and said we're also doing it. So we're the first ones doing it. So it is exciting. There's opportunities, but there's a lot of challenges that I will bring up a little bit later. Our first product that we are looking to get to market is going to be a beef burger. It's following the market, what the other folks have been doing around the world. There's sort of benefits and whatnot for that. And I know no other discussions that you can have on the type of species that we're looking at, but bovine is where we want to be at the moment, just to start. I think the first mover advantage has been something that we've enjoyed quite a bit in South Africa. There's been a lot of interest. People have reached out to us without us having to do much. And not to say that we're being lazy down south, but it's just people are